The Toyota Hilux has been described as the vehicular equivalent of the AK-47 due to its durability and popularity among militant groups. While unwanted, it is the sort of publicity that says everything about the Hilux. After all, if it can make it in conflict zones, it will make it anywhere. Launched in mid-2015 in Thailand and Australia, the 8th generation Toyota Hilux has now finally reached Europe. It hasn't made an appearance in conflict zones yet, but if it's as good as its predecessor, you can bet it will be all over the news too. It's slightly longer, wider and lower than its predecessor, although not the prettiest of pickups. Let's see what's inside. The interior is a big improvement over its predecessor, gaining both in style and usability. This mid-range model features soft fabric upholstery that feels high quality, as well as plastics that are beautifully put together, but too hard. I guess that's the price to pay if you want durability. If you're familiar with the Hilux though, you'll feel at home in the new one right away. The hidden cup holders, the climate control area, and the 1980s digital clock are still where you left them. Now let's talk about the infotainment system. It's an all-new 7-inch touchscreen display that looks good, that's beautifully integrated in the center console, but it's rather slow to operate, particularly on startup, as you can see. While it's loading, let me tell you that there's also a 4.2-inch color display between the dials that shows essential driving information. It takes forever to see something on the screen. Now it's finally on. Speaking of the 1980s, Toyota says this space here can hold 22 CDs. I find that quite irrelevant in an era where we have USB drives, like this one. It looks like we have some sheep crossing the road, and I just realized I forgot to close the bed door. The Hilux utilizes a new ladder frame chassis that has 20% increased rigidity, and you can feel that. Nothing rattles, not even when going over big bumps, and the car feels rock solid. The leaf spring rear suspension setup means the Hilux is still bouncy over potholes, although not as much as it used to be. It's surprisingly comfortable for a pickup truck and decent in corners. Toyota says that engine, wind and road noise into the cabin has been reduced significantly. And I have to say, at cruising speeds,
the Hilux is remarkably silent for a pickup truck. However, getting to cruising speed is another story, as you will have to rev the new 2.4-liter turbocharged diesel engine, which sounds like this. At 150 horsepower, it's relatively underpowered and the transmission is sluggish.
Before going off-road, I need to load some stuff onto the bed.
Has increased approach and departure angles, an all-wheel drive system with low range, as well as limited slip differentials, both on the front and on the rear, with the one on the rear also having a locking function. On top of that, the rear suspension has 20% more travel, which means the Hilux is equipped to tackle rough terrain with ease. It's really impressive because it can go so fast on terrain like this. My colleagues have asked me to perform the moose test with the Hilux. Let's try it. Well, the moose didn't move, and neither did I because I was too afraid.
Wow, I must admit I'm really impressed with this vehicle, particularly with its go anywhere capabilities. The Hilux is a brand in its own right, and I can now understand why it's the vehicle of choice in war-torn areas. I don't know if it's really indestructible, but it sure acts like it.